Yes. Yes. That's such a sudden stop. Hold on, let's do the opening theme.
There is nothing wrong with your radio.
Do not attempt to adjust the volume.
We are controlling the broadcast.
For the next hour we will control all that you hear.
You are about to experience the knowledge and insights of the Media Mothership.
You're listening to Media Mothership finally on Edge Radio 99.3 FM. I'm your host, Craig, joined by Zeke. Thank you, Zeke, for coming along.
Hello. That was a good tee up for that. After all that, to play that, then it goes, there's nothing wrong with your radio.
There really is so many things wrong with your radio system. So this is Media Mothership. Each week we look at things in and around the world of media and how it shapes our understanding of the world around us. We're streaming live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as over the DAB system and the FM system. You can reach out to us on the chat.
And online.
And online. Yeah, so just head over to YouTube chat if you'd like to drop us a message, or the chat, or the SMS line 0488881107. And as always, we investigate contemporary, bizarre news, little things that have come across my desk, and time permitting, we then play other audio if needed. So let's start with a little tune. And we're back.
And
Already. Let's jump into some extraordinary news.
this one's interesting. I was looking at this earlier.
Great. Yeah,
I didn't get to read it all, but I did have a quick look at it, and it was very intriguing.
So this article is an analysis of Steam games. It's reported on from Games Radar. Headline is, "Behold, the whole story of Steam's economy in one picture. The top 1% of games earn 84.5% of estimated revenue, and most games barely make anything." So this was an analysis of over 8,000 paid games. So, the entire analysis was of all the Steam games, which sits at around 99,206 games. And it finds that really it's a winner takes pretty much everything economy in Steam, as it is with many kind of cultural industries, music, streaming. So the top 1% of games account for just under 85% of the total revenue. So 1%. So the big AAA titles, your GTAs.
Probably counts the viral, like the ones that sort of go viral.
Flappy Birds, is that one? No, Ducks.
I mean, it's not, but a game like that,
game.
that become, like that one, which that's an Australian.
What was the Goat Simulator game?
Goat Simulator.
My favorite of the simulators. Yes.
Yeah.
Such a great title.
Farming Simulator. Euro Truck.
Euro Truck. Yeah. So probably those ones, are within there as well as the ones which have a huge bankroll behind them. So while half of all games made less than about $3,600 across their entire lifespan. So they found that 1% of games bring in pretty much around 85% of the total Steam revenue. So it's only 1%. So 99% of those games make between 0 and 15% of revenue. And of, half of all games, so of that 99,000 games, only about half of them make less than $3,000 US. So quite a small amount. Steam has, of course, dramatically lowered the barrier to publishing games, the article says, but it's also meant there's an enormous competition for attention. So probably there's a lot of slop on Steam. There's a lot of...
I do think so. There are a lot of games. There's always like something that is the current thing that people are trying to implement into games. I've noticed recently the voice proximity sort of
Oh yes.
tool or gameplay element has been really big in a bunch of games. So you'll see that there's just a huge amount of games that come out that are like around that $10, $15 price point. Sometimes they're actually even like on sale, even like when they release, which is quite weird. That brings them down even further.
Yep.
And they are just like co-op, voice proximity, like whatever else. Like, but you can tell that the voice proximity in most of them hasn't really been thought of in terms of a meaningful gameplay element. It's just there as like a thing. So they're just capitalizing on what the current trope is, what the current zeitgeist is.
What is voice proximity?
So it's like so pretend you're playing a game with somebody. Let's say you've got like 3 other mates that you're playing with, and it's a co-op game. And then let's say you're on Discord with each other or some other voice chat software. Yeah, and so you're talking to each other. Now, imagine if that voice chat software was in the game, and if you could only hear them when your character in the game was near them.
Oh, really?
And then it gets
Right.
like lesser when you're away from them.
What,
And all this sort of stuff.
have you played games which have this function?
Yeah, a couple of them. There's quite a few of them out.
Right.
Like it is one of the current zeitgeist in terms of gameplay elements that people are like making games to, and there's a lot of like cheaper games that use that sort of function. Yeah.
So yeah, you can get those trends. I mean, the article also points out that 8,000 games have 0 reviews. So they've effectively disappeared from Steam's catalog. Right? They're not being like 8,000 games, just no reviews. They're not getting, you've played this, you might also like this. They just disappear. I mean, it is interesting because Steam, particularly if it's true that they've lowered the threshold to submitting games, it can appear to be like a very democratic marketplace, right? It's like, well, anyone can make it. Anyone can potentially
Yeah, you can
succeed.
put your game up on Steam.
But it does feel like a bit of a message in a bottle vibe, right? You've just cast your message out into the ocean, assuming someone's going to pick it up and read it, but they won't, just like messages in bottles won't be read. You've just got way too much competition, right? So what is it, 99,206 paid games on Steam.
Yeah.
All these games are competing for attention. How to break through?
Yeah, I think that would only be fair in the instance that if you went into Steam and then you were to see the marketplace was literally just a big library of games, and there's nothing that points you towards any in particular, and it's just you just go through and you look at them and you go, oh, I want that one, I want that one. That's the only thing that would be like, oh, it's fair for everyone. But really, as is the case in most markets, there are games that are marketed better, or they've paid for certain access for Steam. They're on the front page. They're either in the background or they're on the big turny screen thing on the front there, or maybe there's a sale or a discount or whatever that's on there as well, which they've paid in some part for, or they're doing paid marketing in content creation and stuff like that.
And the question here is, is Steam actually providing a good opportunity for small indie game developers to be noticed, right? Or is it you can't with that 1% success rate for 85% of sales? It's volume, the sheer volume of game content on Steam and the way its algorithm works makes it really impossible to be noticed. I mean, on that point, I guess it does dovetail into a huge scoop that Edge Radio has achieved through your own endeavours.
That's right.
To get media access at Australia's premier video gaming convention later in the year, PAX.
That's right.
So Media Mothership will be sending you.
Well, yeah, we'll be there. You may.
I'm hoping to
yet
get
to
there.
be determined.
Hoping to get there.
You may be there, but at the very least, I'll be there.
So one of the questions you'll have to ask is how does Steam help indie providers get their games
It would be
circulated?
interesting. We could do a bit of games journalism.
Because there is a great... so this is PAX, of course. PAX is hosted mainly in the Northern Hemisphere in the US. I think there's certainly 2 in the US, I think, 1 in Canada, I think, and we're the only outside of that.
Hence it being PAX Oz.
PAX
It's
Oz.
the only one in Australia.
Yep. I think it's the only one in the Southern Hemisphere. There aren't too many other PAXs. And
No, literally most of them are in America.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a video gaming floor and a board gaming floor. And in that video gaming floor, there's a lot of indie developers that are demonstrating their wares, a small contingent from Tassie. So it'll be fantastic, I think, to bring these statistics.
It could be good. Yeah, we could follow up on this story or this beat.
Well, because it is that question of the attention economy, right? That everyone is overwhelmed with streaming platforms, with mobile phone devices, so much that is, shouldering into our attention span. PAX is one of those environments where hopefully small indie developers can get noticed and seen for a crowd of people coming through Melbourne to witness.
Well, I don't remember. Because the studio that did Untitled Goose Game,
yes,
that's Australian.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they're from Melbourne. Could be wrong on that though. And I wonder if, was that game a very viral? It was just a hit because of it was a viral thing, but it wasn't super expensive or anything, or very crazy. Because I've never actually played it. But
my assumption is it viral, mainly word of mouth. It had a marketing budget. There was probably something like Screen Australia or something that was helping to, but they would be very much. I mean, locally in Tasmania, of course, we've got Secret Labs, who are also involved in small apps and video games. So it'd be interesting to challenge that question of attention and distribution of content with the very cluttered environment today, and the difficulty of Australia being able to get into there. So that's coming up in October.
Yeah, October 9, 10, and 11, I believe.
So leading up to that, there'll be more exciting news as Edge Radio
That's right.
hits
You can
to
follow
PAX.
us on, potentially you'll do, if you're there, you'll probably do some content on your socials, Media Mothership. But there will also be social media content on the Edge Radio 993 Instagram, maybe Facebook as well. Although you can't really do stories and stuff like that as well on Facebook. But
your own show on video game music every Sunday.
yeah,
Sound point save.
save point sounds. Yeah,
Oh, so close. I just inverted the last and first word.
Yep.
Save Point Sounds is also engaged in this ecosphere. It'd be interesting if there's much music.
we'll see. I know Mick Gordon. You know Mick Gordon. He's the guy who, I say that as if you should know, but he's the composer for Doom 2016
Oh,
and the subsequent ones after that. He'll be there.
right. Is he an invited guest or is he
Yeah,
the
he's
local
he's
Australian?
a featured
Really?
guest. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know whether I'll be able to get access at all.
Oh, he's got to be a listener.
Who
Save
knows?
Point Sounds.
Who knows? I've done Doom 1 and 2 in the past 2 weeks, so maybe
Every Sunday, 2 o'clock.
I'll get up to the point where we're at the 2016 one,
Yeah.
and then there you go.
It's a natural jumping off point.
Yeah.
Okay. Next story is from Gizmondo. Headlined, used booksellers are racking up huge sales. They're not thrilled about the likely reason. Subtitled, if you're a book, you'd better start sleeping with one eye open. That's awkward. I guess.
Shouldn't it be if you're a book, you should be sleeping with one page turned or so, something?
Yeah, your books
Make a pun out of it.
don't have eyes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Good point. This article is mainly looking. It's mainly looking at some interviews and discussions done in Britain with used booksellers who are experiencing unusually strong demand for older books. Apparently, because AI companies want large quantities of human-written material to train language models on. The disturbing possibility is that some of these physical books are then being bought specifically to be scanned and then destroyed, raising questions about what happens to physical cultural knowledge when it becomes raw material for AI.
I feel like I have seen this story, maybe not in Gizmondo, but I feel like I've seen this story, and now I would have thought that I'd seen it on your show before, but apparently I haven't because you're now covering it right
breaking
second.
today, right now. Yeah.
But I've heard of it, like, yeah, buying it and then they scan it and then get rid of it because I think it's what the copyright issue or whatever. You can only have one copy. So
Oh, is that it?
they get rid of the physical copy and they have a digital copy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because certainly the thing that I think has been getting a lot of traction is the concern that these books are being destroyed, that all these secondhand used booksellers are having their content then bought, which is great. A lot of book sales, physical media of books is considered to be, uneconomical, but there's a sale for it. But they're being destroyed. They're training the AI on scanning all this content. And it's incredible to get. I mean, it was one thing, the stories of AI, basically harvesting the internet. But now the idea that it's harvesting old books.
It's harvesting books, yeah.
I guess books that aren't on Project Gutenberg or something.
Now I can't remember whether we've discussed this on your show previously, but there's the idea that like AI is actually like somehow running out of content to absorb from the internet. Like it's getting through it so fast that there's not going to be enough new content. So to make up for that, there's like scanning books and all these other things which aren't necessarily online to have new content for it to
then destroy it.
Because they don't want AI to be trained on AI because they have seen that it actually just creates even worse results. Yeah,
that is interesting. Yeah, because one of the points in the article was that AI companies are specifically looking for pre-language learning model era human writing.
Yeah.
Right? So older books that were published, created, my research articles are out there. Feel free for training material because, the idea of if you're taking written content from language learning model era onwards, it's corrupted. It's already a kind of echo chamber of insanity. As has been shown, a few weeks ago we talked about how people have been complaining that predictive text and autocorrect functions on mobile phones has noticeably degraded in quality.
I noticed that the other week when I was like, or like a couple of times since you've said that, I've noticed it. Because I went in and I've like been typing something and it's like, oh, do you mean this? Or it's changed it automatically. And then you go back to it and go, no. Revert back. And I'm like, what does it think I want to write that word?
Yeah, and one of the reasons is that some articles are pointing out is that the AI scripting within some of these more advanced autocorrecting features on mobile phones are training themselves on your writing. And so as you're making errors, it can also introduce those errors into, I guess this is how the human is writing. And so again, rather than trying to be trained on content which is already, I guess, part of this language learning model loop, grabbing books, old yellowing paged books for training is what they're doing. So they're harvesting, they're grabbing. It'd be interesting if local Hobart booksellers are noticing we're going to get that data center here and suddenly all our books...
all the books are going to be shipped into the data
libraries will be like, oh, it's returning their books.
Yeah. It is the one thing that I did want to notice before when you talked about your research articles.
Oh, yes.
I was like, is that... What do you think of that? Is it concerning to think to you like... Because they've obviously probably looked at your research article, these AIs, right? They've been trained on. If you were to ask an AI about your papers that you've done, it would know what you're talking about. Is that what do you think?
Conceivably, some of them probably had such a small circulation that it would be in this.
Still on the internet.
I don't look.
Is that like distressing to think like AI has it's looked at this and taken it in and just sort of harvested your work?
Well, I know. I mean, more when we look at our audio data hits, sometimes for Media Motherships and other shows on Edge Radio, we'll see these anomalies of downloads for episodes we've created. And those ones I'll think, are they just being harvested? Because it doesn't seem like they're engaged with my content. What I think is I'm glad I wrote those articles before language learning models. Because I think my academic writing would be crap today. It would be totally corrupted by the shortcuts of... So I take great pride in my pre-LLM academic work, that it is, it's done without any crutches.
I have seen there's some good memes now where it'll be like a meme of like some kid being like, "Oh, what do you mean you wrote like however many words in like a night or whatever?" And then it's like the guy's like, "What do you mean? I wrote it without reading the book."
Yes. So Anthropic, the article talks about how Anthropic recently settled a major copyright lawsuit for $1.5 billion over its use of books as training data, which I imagine that court case, so Anthropic got into big trouble using illegal copies of books as training data, eventually paying $1.5 billion. Recently unearthed court documents reveal that the company's new plan to ingest the data in books, codenamed Project Panama.
I think that's the thing that I've heard about.
Ingest books. Is nice and legal, but a PR nightmare. Destructive scanning, which means taking a physical copy of a book and scanning it, but destroying the physical copy in the process. So I don't know. I mean, the article's a bit vague. It suggests, I don't know, the reading I'm getting here is that the act of scanning will physically destroy. Like, I guess they're flattening it. They're destroying the spine of the book.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, from the what I remember of reading something about it. I'm pretty sure it is this. Oh yeah,
Anthropic is obligated to destroy books as well because only one copy of the book exists before the scan, and only one copy exists after. Meaning no piracy is occurring. Right, you're right. Yeah.
So they have now. It's a digital copy rather than. I mean, it's like a photograph, or basically of the real book, but. Yeah, it's a digital copy rather than a physical copy now.
They can't be accused of being in breach of copy or piracy because they still have only one copy.
It is funny that like
destructive scanning.
It is funny that like if you were to delete a file like permanently, like that just involves like right clicking and going down and clicking delete. But that's the same act as if you were to go to a book and just tear it apart.
Yeah, put it on the fire.
It's not quite the
book
same.
Burning. I imagine. I'd like to think Anthropic has a book, these book burning pyres, get the local Hitler Youth involved. So this is the act of destructive scanning. It involves cutting up physical books to scan it, then destroying the original. In some circumstances, this has been treated as legally permissible.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think also like because they know they have to destroy it anyway, that's the thing. They'll flatten it, cut it up or whatever, so then it's easier to scan it as well. So they'll just take the pages, so then they can just have them already like in a neat pile and just go like straight through them, rather than like keeping it as it is.
Yeah.
So they destroy it as a part of the process and then probably like burn it as well at the end. So.
In the article, one bookseller describes having recently sold the only surviving copy of an 18th century edition. That makes the prospect of rare books being purchased as AI training material much more unsettling than simply shredding millions of copies of mass-marketed bestsellers. Yeah, I mean, if there's some rare books that are also caught up in this buying frenzy, and then they're lost, that's a great sadness. Yeah. It is, I'd be interested to hear what secondhand bookshops feel about this. Yeah, that if our local secondhand bookshop suddenly is doing really well, it's sadly because AI companies are buying the books and then destroying them.
Yep. Throw them in the van, take them to the data center. They never return.
Because there is a moral question. I mean, if a company buys a rare book legitimately, should it be allowed to then destroy it in order...
Or like convert it
for it to be trained.
Digital copy and delete the
that's right, delete the physical book. It's deleted.
Yeah.
Should they be allowed to? I mean, I don't feel they should be, given it's a rare book.
I can see why it would be legal. That doesn't mean that I think it's right though. But I can understand why that is a legally permissible thing. I think that it shouldn't be. Actually, I think that they just shouldn't be doing that. I think it's just a stupid...
I mean, once it's scanned and digital, it's so easy to make duplicates of it. So potentially there's this, as an archiving act, having it now digitized means it's a little more survivable in terms of it's so much easier to just create backup copies or circulate it. Obviously, it would be in breach of the Piracy Act, but nevertheless, it's much easier to do it. The sadness here, though, is if there's only one or two physical copies of a book remaining, an edition, for those to be lost, even for a digital copy to be made, seems to be a huge loss of kind of artifact, a cultural artifact loss. That leather binding of it. It's
well, yeah, especially if as you said, if it's a very unique, very rare book, and also very nice looking as well, and they're just like, tearing it up.
Yeah, because it's an interesting contrast to the Steam story, which is all about, here's a marketplace with tens of thousands of games, and there's so many games on Steam that really, only 1% of those games make 85% of the profit.
And I mean, how many? I mean, like, as we talked about the other week as well, the wrapping up of physical games as well. PlayStation no longer doing it, or announcing that they're no longer going to do it. Release physical games, it is. But I mean, how many games on Steam anymore even have a physical version somewhere? Whether it's a PC copy or an Xbox copy or Nintendo Switch or whatever.
Yeah. And again, those physical copies, once there's only a small number of them remaining or ever have been produced, there's something significant about that as an artifact. Yet, I guess the digitization of it, the idea that we've got all these digital games, so many tens of thousands of them, it makes them kind of meaningless at a point in terms of like so many of them don't have reviews. So it is an interesting counterpoint that here we have tons of books, right? Old secondhand books. They're being used and digitized, and they're going to be used for some form of production with the AI. But the fact that the technology, I guess, involved in it is destroying it as well seems immoral. Seems like there's a moral transgression here, a horrible PR mess. I mean, what is it that... I mean, this is a new escalation of AI's bad PR.
It's a shocking...
right?
I mean, there's an obvious connection, as you made earlier, to Nazi Germany. With burning books and,
I know.
And all that
Book
stuff.
burning just has all that horrible history and association of censorship, cultural fascism, and the fact that AI is book burning in a figurative way I think is a really troubling, immoral act, and it at least raises significant questions. Obviously, if there's rare books as well, worryingly, sadly. What would Pingu say?
I feel like Pingu would burn a few books.
If it's cold, if you're cold enough.
Hey, he lives in the I don't know, Antarctic. I don't know.
Well, talking of horrific ideas, two articles here. I'll do the most. Well, actually, let's go to the oldest story. That there's been a slight update to it, but we'll start with the older one, which is that Halloween, right? The film series Halloween, the movie series Halloween, first one by John Carpenter. Recently, a game has been made of it. Halloween, the game.
Oh, I've heard of this. Yes.
Australia has banned it. Right, so Halloween the game apparently lets you smoke weed to spot Michael Myers.
Smoke weed every day.
And Australia isn't having it. And this is reported in Polygon. Initially, New Zealand also had banned it.
Yeah.
Right? So, of course, this is just at the classifications point. So what's happened here is that Halloween the game has been refused classification in Australia after the classification board determined that its depiction of illicit drug use constituted an incentivization or rewarding of drugs. right? So because you use the drug to then see where Michael Myers is, it's breached Australia's classification board use of depicting illicit drug use because it's incentivizing and rewarding the use of drugs. The bizarre part is that the game is, of course, an extremely violent horror game where you play as the murderer Michael Myers, but that's not the problem. The problem isn't that you're murdering people.
Michael Myers isn't the murderer, but
he's the monster. He's the faceless
he's
monster.
the actor.
No, Michael Myers is the actor as well as the name of the Halloween murderer. You're undermining. Anyway, so it's interesting that the classification isn't about the fact that you're doing a horror game where you're killing people. It's about that part of the game mechanic involves cannabis giving survivors.
Like, there's something where I can see why maybe you'd want to ban or refuse classification for a game like this. I mean, I think also the thing that was pointed up in the coverage that I've seen is that we do have like an 18 plus category, like R, what is it rated? R 18 plus or whatever, which you would assume it would just be put into that. So it's weird that it just doesn't even go into that category. It's just refused classification at all.
And it's specifically the drug use.
Yeah, and it's the drug use that is the problem with it, not everything else. Like, everything else would be like fine. If there was no drug use,
that's right.
Absolutely fine.
Which again does show, I think, does raise questions about, is that really such a transgressive act? Because, I mean, raising more questions, of course, is that the situation is even a little odder now. Initially, New Zealand was framed as having banned it, but New Zealand has recently announced that the digital release will be happening of the Halloween game, just not the physical release. So the physical release is banned, and it turns out in New Zealand there's different classification laws for physical releases and digital releases. Yeah, I know, mind blown.
Weird.
So in Australia we have the one classification for both. Yeah. However, in New Zealand, there've been according to a new statement from the game developer Ilphonic, the confusion around New Zealand's categorization came down to which rating bodies apply to what territory. When we partnered with physical distributors to sell packaged goods in Australia and New Zealand, we learned that the ACB rating, which is used for physical goods, took precedence over the IRC rating, which is rating category for digital goods. In other words, the Australian refusal only blocks the physical release across both territories. It does not affect New Zealand's own digital classification, which falls under a different system entirely. So because New Zealand has its own digital classification scheme, they've still been able to get the digital unedited version of, the digital version of Halloween. The game entirely has been banned in Australia, physically and digitally.
Just it's so funny. I mean, I feel like it really demonstrates the need for if your game is, because what's the argument that you use weed as a game mechanic where you use weed, and that is positive because it allows you to more likely win the game, but then also you play as the killer, but the killing to win the game doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, many people would see the killing as having more of an issue than the drug use.
Like, you're rewarded to win the game, which is what you want to do, makes you feel good. You have to kill people, and that's not.
And it's a real shame, yeah. And because there are games. I mean, what I like about the use of that mechanic is that it's trying to use in-universe justifications for a game dimension.
Yeah.
So Halloween, of course, notoriously about promiscuous teens, and the more promiscuous or risk-taking they are, the more likely they are to be killed by the killer. So, of course, you got premarital sex. So that couple usually gets killed in Act 1.
Yeah.
to all of these cliches and tropes that come out from these slasher films, which are about the policing of teen behavior and teen delinquency, gamifies that drug use aspect of it. That, of course, that will allow you to see it. There are other games I know equally that have tried to take. I played the Scarface game, so the 1980s movie Scarface with Al Pacino. There was a game made of it for the PS2 in the 90s, and in that game, the more you use your gun to shoot people, you have a meter called your balls meter. And the more violent you become, the more you are then able to slow time down to kill more people. Yeah. And again, that's that idea of how you take this character that's violent and then gamify it with a mechanic.
It's even like Doom 2016, when they reworked how that worked with modern game making. And the fact that, if you chain together, or it's easy, well, they want you to chain together and they make it somewhat easy for you to do it. And when you do it, it means that you can go from monster to monster, kill that one, kill that one, kill that one. Music amps you up, you feel like it gets faster, more adrenaline fueled. And it's like, that's not a problem, but weed use is a problem.
I'm trying to think if there's a game where there's alcohol use. And the more you drink, maybe there's a Simpsons game where Homer drinks.
I don't think from memory, I don't think any of the games. I mean, I'm sure maybe it was a part of it because it's a part of the series. But in the games that there have been of the Simpsons, I don't think there's been a sort of a power up or something like that. Yeah,
I know in GTA 5 there's a memorable scene where your character accidentally takes, I think, psychedelic mushrooms, and then begins to hallucinate an alien invasion, where you start killing the aliens around you. And so there's a kind of, drug use. I guess it's not rewarded in terms of your character. Noticeably is degraded in terms of their, spatial awareness, and it's very much a...
yeah, well, I mean, it's also weird, though, because you usually play, a person who is basically a criminal in GTA.
Yeah.
So anything that they do, sure, it's not rewarded necessarily, but you are playing a criminal. The same thing in Halloween as well. You're playing the murderer.
Well, even I was talking in Katie's show that the Man-Eater game, and previously to that, the Jaws game, where you play as a great white shark. You're eating people, but that's also giving you power. But there's also points at which there are people putting chemicals in the ocean, and so you're attacking those. So again, it's that way of, these are good violent acts.
Yeah,
these are justifiable.
They're justifiable
violent acts.
The ends justify
even though you're playing a villain, a bad guy. The story still frames a reward mechanism within that.
It's actually interesting, Craig, because I should note this, but in grade 11, I think it was grade 11, or it was grade 12, in one of the English classes that I did, there was basically what it amounted to, kind of like a journalistic piece that I had to write. My thing, it was sort of like text analysis as well, but the thing that I did was Hotline Miami 2.
Oh.
And the argument that I was making in there was that the Australian rating system needed to be revised. Because they also refused classification for that game.
Yes. Yeah. Australia was notorious for refusing classification for so many games.
Yeah. So I actually went through all of this stuff that we're going through, being this is ridiculous, that this is how it works.
Yes.
I went through at that time.
Well, I think this is what many people are thinking, that surely we've already passed this issue, but clearly we haven't.
That was 10 years ago. More than 10 years ago. I wrote that.
Yeah, I mean, there's, what is it, Dead by Daylight. There's a whole, Texas Chainsaw Massacre had a video game done of that recently. So there's been a whole, boatload full of these horror games coming out. Halloween has just come up against... and I guess the thing about the use of marijuana, which is interesting, is that marijuana has been decriminalized. There are so many states in Australia and around the world where that's no longer considered a kind of prohibited substance.
Yeah.
So it does feel even a little more out of touch with the way marijuana is described.
There should have been like a disclaimer that like in the state that they're in, it's legal.
That's right.
Or that he has like a there's a medicinal use for it. And he's like got a license to have it.
I like it. All right. Troubleshooting, problem solving. So one more article
Speed run.
before. So this is an article out of IGN. The Coyote versus Acme. Movie.
Oh yeah.
So the headline is Coyote versus Acme debuts with perfect 100% score on Rotten Tomatoes. So, of course, this was the film notoriously Warner Brothers shelved it when it released. So for those that don't know, Coyote vs. Acme is a live-action animated Looney Tunes film that Warner Brothers famously shelved, right? I think at the time people were saying that it was for tax reasons, that they would get more out of just creating it, producing it, finishing it, and then not releasing it. So it was a completely completed film. Completely completed. It was
Completely completed. This was around the time that because they also made a Batwoman movie.
That's right. There were a number of films which
and they wrote
also had
that one off, so that was never seen. But it was filmed, it was finished, and they just wrote it off on the tax to never be released.
So eventually it was acquired by Ketchup Entertainment. Ketchup Entertainment, the tomato sauce entertainment group. And it's finally getting a theatrical release now, August 28th, well, in 8 days' time. So critics so far have been reviewing it, and yes, IGN have pointed out amusingly that it's, after the critic reviews has come out with a 100% perfect Rotten Tomato score, which maybe it's a kind of, message, right? Maybe they're inflating it somewhat. It does seem odd that it's 100%.
Maybe it's a good movie.
Maybe it's a great movie. It's got, John Cena.
Oh, that's right. This is the one with the Tweety Bird, right?
I should.
And he talks to Tweety Bird, but like in the Tweety Bird like way, because it's like, oh, I twiddled on did this,
right.
And he's like speaking back to him, and
I should play the trailer. Here we go. We'll get the trailer. Here's the trailer.
Injured by a product made by the Acme Corporation?
It's not your fault. There's probably someone to blame.
The name of the case is Coyote versus Acme.
Wile E. Coyote. He is reckless. We all know who's responsible, and all of his injuries are self-inflicted.
You've been settling Acme cases for years.
I could probably get you $250 for that.
This is your opportunity to really show people what you're capable of.
These companies think they can do whatever they want. We're sick of it.
Acme, act you!
Nothing to see here.
We really have nothing.
We both know it would be very unpleasant if anything bigger were to become public.
What is up, Doc?
Right.
The Acme Corporation is releasing this film for accounting purposes only. We do not condone any of the storylines depicted.
It's a good in-joke at the end with the type of, insanity that this film faced as it tried to get released. So finally coming out, the amusing part of
Coyote versus Acme.
Coyote versus
more promotion. It's in my computer now. So it is interesting. So it initially debuted with 100% Rotten Tomatoes. Now it's down to 97%. I haven't checked it recently. It is surprising. So basically, the film's premise is that Wile E. Coyote is suing the Acme Corporation for all the defective products that's repeatedly tried to kill him, as we heard there in the trailer. Will Forte plays the lawyer, and John Cena represents Acme. So again, stellar cast. And many questions were asked at the time, why the hell isn't this getting released? Why would a studio spend that many millions of dollars making this movie and then make
You would have thought you'd be able to make the money, like, as good as a tax write-off would have been for however much they spent on it, which I guess they probably did spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
But you would have thought you'd be able to make the money back.
Yeah. I mean, financially, it seems crazy to have done that. And culturally, again, who gets to decide what we should do, right? Whether something exists or not. Obviously, they've put a lot of money behind producing it, but the actors, all the talent involved in it, were disappointed that it was never seen. I know people that have been involved in the Batgirl project, when they're interviewed, will be asked about how it feels doing the work, and then the whole project just gets shelved at the point that it's finished.
I mean, at least everyone got paid.
Yes, yeah.
So.
But culturally, to have that disappear on it. So, I mean, I guess the other counterpoint to that is, I know there's a film, I think John Malkovich is in it, which has been produced, created, but is only to be screened in 80 years' time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are cases like this where, again, cultural things are decided not to exist until a later date.
And that is... Well, see, that's the difference, isn't it? That was made in a somewhat particular... I'm sure when it does release, maybe it will do well because they'll be like, wow, this movie was made 80 years ago and it's been sealed away. Like, do you want to be one of the people who see it? Like, it will probably make money that way. But it's obviously being made more in an artistic sense than a commercial sense. Whereas, obviously, that movie, or at least, movies to that corporation are more figures on a balance sheet than art to be released. So.
And it is interesting that this case shows that decision can be reversed. So Batgirl might still be out there.
And there is something that, I mean, it's not the exact same thing, but there is something ironic about the fact that it's like Wile E. Coyote taking a corporation to to court, and the movie got shelved.
Well, I think
for tax reasons or whatever.
And I think the trailer at the end, satires that, where it's this movie's being released for tax purposes only. So on that bright note of the Coyote vs. Acme movie seeing the light of day, we'll wrap it up there for Media Mothership this week. Thanks everyone for listening in. Thanks for those that watched on the stream. And we'll be back next week with more interesting, unusual stuff from media. Zeke will be on Sunday afternoon for...
That's true. Sunday, 6 p.m.
Save Point Tunes.
Save Point Sounds.
Save Point Sounds. Keep listening now. Some more funky Edge Radio stuff. And then Kiri's...
Tapestry.
Tapestry's on at 5:30.